Situational awareness is the most important concept when it comes to avoiding violence as we navigate our daily lives. Specifically, concepts like baselines, anomalies, and pre-attack indicators. And knowing the difference between these concepts will allow you to make the best decision possible in that moment. Today, we're going to go over a video that shows us exactly those concepts. Hi everyone, this is Chris with Staying Safe, and welcome to the Lessons Learned series. We're going to start by watching this video all the way through, and then we're going to come back and break it down and look at the anomalies, the pre-attack indicators, and we're going to discuss some other concepts in here. So I'm going to point out that this guy is the victim and this is our perpetrator. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at this perpetrator's specific actions, the anomalies, and the pre-attack indicators. First thing that we see is he looks up and down the line. And this as a standalone action doesn't really mean too much, but it is something we should note, that most individuals, most citizens don't pay attention to what's going on around them. They don't look around. They're just there. They're not in the moment. Good guys and bad guys typically tend to look around, to be in the moment, to pay attention to what's going on around them. We can take this action and we could attribute it to a number of things. We could say that he's impatiently waiting for the train, or he's just curious of where the train might be if it's coming. So as a standalone action, it's not really to worry us too much, but it does give us something to think about. The next action that he does is a pre-attack indicator. So rewind it a little bit. So he starts off with the bottle in his right hand as if he was going to drink it. And then he takes a step forward and moves the bottle to his left hand and then brings it back to his right hand, but this time he has a reverse grip on it. So he's holding the bottle not as if he was going to drink it like it's intended, but that he's going to use it as a bludgeoning object while he's walking towards another person. If I'm the victim and I see this, that's enough for me to make a decision right there that I need to get out of the area, and if I can't, I need to make contact with the individual. So let's see it in real time. There's the switch, and as you can see, he switched it as the victim was sitting down, so we know he didn't catch that action. But at this point, you can see his head's up, and he has clear view to observe the bottle being held in the wrong direction, which is then, like I said, enough for me to take action. You see he walks up, he talks to the individual. You notice he hesitated a little bit as if he was kind of thinking, looking around. And then he speeds up to the edge of the line to take a last look up and down. Then he moves in really close to the individual. And most times, even if we're going to talk to somebody, if we have that much open space, we're not going to be that close to the individual. The next thing that he does is, I can't tell 100% because the victim's in the way, but it appears as though the perpetrator is sitting in what's called the starter's position, and it's comparable to a sprinter who's about to start a race. He's got 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, he's leaning forward so that he can get maximum explosion and move quickly off the line. This is a very similar position. It looks like he has his left leg forward and his right leg back, and he's sitting at the edge of the seat, leaning forward. And this is where he is right before he does the attack and grabs the bag and runs off. The concept that I want to talk about is iconography. And I wrote an introductory post on this on my website, and I'll put a link in the description. But to quote the book Left of Bang, iconography is visual language. So it could be used to tell somebody's beliefs, It could be it could be used to tell affiliations. It could be all kinds of different things. It could be used to intimidate, to boast, to brag, to bully. So let's take a look at the message that the perpetrator is trying to send in his iconography. He's wearing red shorts, a red handkerchief around his neck, and a red hat. So to me, that immediately brings to mind a gang affiliation to the Bloods. So the next thing that I want to point out that we didn't talk about earlier as an anomaly, because it's not a physical action, is we see that the victim is wearing long pants, a pretty big jacket, and a beanie. And then if we scroll towards the end, this guy in the same area is wearing long pants and a big jacket. Doesn't look like, looks like he might be wearing a hat too, I can't really tell. But let's scroll back to the perpetrator. We see that he's not wearing a jacket. He's not wearing a shirt at all. So this tells us this is an anomaly. You add that in with his iconography and then him looking around. That's enough for me to want to move away from this position to begin with. And then you add the pre-attack indicator of switching the bottle in his hand, approaching the victim. All these things add up. Which brings into my next concept I want to talk about, is having a threshold for decision making. Meeting that threshold for decision making, we're going to go by what the book Left of Bank says, and that's the combat rule of 3. It basically states that when you observe 3 anomalies or indicators, that you must make a decision. Don't wait around for more information. And this is what's commonly called a heuristic technique, and this is an approach to problem solving that employs a method that's not guaranteed to be perfect or optimal, but it's going to be good enough to meet the immediate goals. And that's exactly how it is in real life. You don't always have time to sit and gather all the information you need to make the best decision. You have to deal with the information that you have available. And sometimes, like in this video, you may miss some of the anomalies. What this doesn't mean is that you always have to wait for 3 anomalies to make a decision. Every situation and the context is always going to be different, so you have to use your best judgment. The heuristic technique is really there to make you make a decision if you're having a hard time doing so. If you find yourself trying to sit and gather more information before making a decision, that's what that heuristic's there to do, is to help you make a decision. But if you see something that, like the bottle switching hands and the person approaching you, that may be the only thing that you see, but that's enough for me to make a decision. So, of course, context and the whole situation is going to dictate what actions you take and when you make a decision. But just remember the combat rule of 3 if you're having a hard time making a decision. The difference between an anomaly and a pre-attack indicator is significance. So if we use this video as an example, the perpetrator not wearing a shirt and everyone else wearing jackets and hats is a deviation from the baseline. It's something to take note of, but it doesn't force me to make a decision right now. A pre-attack indicator is the perpetrator walking towards me and then switching grips with the bottle. Or other examples could be 2 groups of people communicating covertly to each other, signaling, and then moving towards me in a dominant fashion. Or an individual walking aggressively towards me while hiding their dominant hand. These are actions that force me to make a decision now. In this video, we discussed the differences between anomalies from the baseline and pre-attack indicators. We also covered other concepts like heuristics and iconography and how those concepts play into your decision making if you were to find yourself in this type of scenario. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember, no one has more to lose when it comes to your safety than you do.